Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to briefly analyze new Arsenal signing Takehiro Tomiyasu to break down how he can improve Mikel Arteta's backline. So in today's video, first we're going to focus on Tomiyasu's role at Bologna, then we'll shift to his key strengths and how he could be an asset to Arsenal's backline, and lastly we'll shift to how he'd fit into Arsenal's setup under Mikel Arteta. And when we focus on Tomiyasu, he could play as a center back and he could also play as a right back. When he's playing as a center back, you could see him on the right or the left. He's capable of playing in both positions. And what stands out about him playing at center back is that he's aggressive with the press and he's very proactive. So he's able to track the movement of players that do drop off deeper, apply tight pressure, and he forces them to play sideways passes or to play the ball backwards, and at the very worst, he does concede fouls away from his own penalty area. At the same time, he does a very good job of tracking the runs of players in behind his fullbacks, and he provides good cover for his teammates in those wider zones. Here you can see Berardi running at Hickey, and focus on Tomiyasu's position just ahead of Juricic. When that pass is played into the path of his attacking midfielder, that's where you see Tomiyasu prepare to step forward as a loose touch is played. But what you end up seeing is that although Tomiyasu does get to the ball first, when he makes the challenge, it bounces off of Juricic and it falls into the path of the Sassuolo attacking midfielder, and now Tomiyasu has to recover. But what Tomiyasu does well is that he tracks the movement of Juricic into the path of the right half space, and he holds up the Sassuolo attacking midfielder, and he ends up forcing him backwards, and when he looks to cut back towards the byline, Tomiyasu does a very good job of getting his body across, and he shields off the pressure to help Bologna win possession. Against France, you could see two Japanese players being taken out of the game, and focus on the run from the wide French player down the touchline. When that pass is played, you could see Tomiyasu shifting across to provide cover, and what he does well here is that he's able to get to the ball first, and he steps in to help Japan regain possession. Against Juventus, you could see Cuadrado unmarked in the right channel, and he locates the run of Ronaldo in between the center backs as Dybala's movement pulls out Denzil. But focus on Tomiyasu identifying Ronaldo's run, and when that ball is dumped into right half space, the Japanese international tracks the movement of Ronaldo, and he ends up forcing him towards the byline to halt Juve's attack temporarily. There are times where you do see Bologna playing in a back three, and that's where you will see him as more of a right center back, with the right wing back looking to push forward. He's able to cover space for his teammate, and as Bologna do have possession, he's also capable of pushing forward into the half spaces, and at times carrying the ball into the opposing side's third if no pressure is applied. While Arsenal may have several center backs at their disposal at the moment, the reason why the move for Tomiyasu could be key is that if Arsenal do shift to a back three, or even if they play with two center backs, what you saw from those opening two games is that when they do look to press higher up the pitch, their center backs are reluctant to step forward to close the gap between the defenders and the midfield. What you ended up seeing was that against Chelsea, it was Havertz and Mason Mount dropping off into space in that midfield zone, and it forced Lokonga and Xhaka to shift across to close them down, and they ensured that they had 2v1 against Lukaku. In those situations, Tomiyasu wouldn't be fearful of stepping forward to apply tight pressure to ensure that Havertz and Mount couldn't turn with the ball. Against Man City, it was Ferran Torres dropping off deeper into that central zone, and he was able to create overloads in that midfield area, and that was one of the main issues that Arsenal encountered along with the movement of Gundogan and Bernardo Silva. When Bernardo Silva and Gundogan were moving into advanced positions, they were then looking to drop off deeper to overload that midfield zone away from pressure, and what you ended up seeing was that the center backs were reluctant to step forward with them, and that created issues for Arsenal as well. While you can make the case that proactive man-v-man pressing in the opposing side's third is a liability towards the backline, here you can see the Bologna press on full display against Sassuolo from the front, and that forces the center back to play a forward pass into the path of Juricic, who does drop off into his own half to receive the ball. But that's where you see Tomiyasu sticking tight on Juricic, dropping into his own third, and he applies tight pressure and he forces Juricic to concede possession to help Bologna break from the Sassuolo box. Then against Sassuolo, you could see Tomiyasu stepping tight on Jurisic, who drops in towards the halfway circle to get on the ball. But Tomiyasu does a very good job of sticking tight with the attacking midfielder and forcing him into his own half. And the pressure was so good that he actually forced Jurisic into his own third ahead of the center backs. But unfortunately, he conceded a foul from that zone. What we see from Tomiyasu is that even if he is bypassed by the opposing player's dummy or just quick link-up play, what he does very well is that when that ball is played towards a teammate or he is bypassed, he does a very good job of tracking the run of the player he was dragged in with to ensure that quick 1-2 combinations aren't played to help them break forward. Against Atalanta, you could see the ball being shifted out to Robin Gosens, and you could see Tomiyasu shifting across to close him down. As Gosens looks to shift central, what you end up seeing is that Tomiyasu does stick with him, and he forces a square pass towards Gosens' teammate, but focus on Tomiyasu's movement following that. As Gosens plays the pass, he's able to receive the pass back, but Tomiyasu tracks the movement of Gosens laterally, and once the wingback does get a touch on the ball, when he looks to cut back onto his left foot, it's Tomiyasu stepping in to make a challenge, and he helps Bologna win possession to halt the Atalanta attack. Here you can see Tomiyasu being proactive with his press and being dragged into the Sassuolo half by Jurisic. And although Jurisic dummies the ball and it bypasses Tomiyasu, it falls into the path of Caputo. But what Tomiyasu does well here is that he sticks with the run of Jurisic and he ensures that a 1-2 can't be played to help Sassuolo break quickly. It's a bonus for Mikel Arteta, who's encouraging his side to press higher up the pitch to squeeze opponents. If we look to Tomiyasu playing from right back, he's a very good 1v1 defender, and what he's able to do well is that he forces the opponent to the byline at the very worst, but he does a very good job of getting his body across the attacking player to ensure that they can't bypass him or get goal side. While Tomiyasu did struggle against Cristiano Ronaldo 1v1, here you could see him forcing Ronaldo out into left half space to apply pressure. As that play develops, he forces Ronaldo to carry the ball backwards, and this is a good position for Tomiyasu as he has Ronaldo with his back to goal towards the edge of the box. What happens next is that Ronaldo attempts to pull the ball back to bypass Tomiyasu, but the Bologna defender does a very good job of tracking that movement, and he gets his body across to ensure that Ronaldo can't get goal side of him, and he ends up winning possession to stop that Juventus attack. At the Olympics against France, here you could see Tomiyasu in a 1v1 against a French attacking player near the edge of the box. And what he does well is that when the French attacking player does look to run at him, he forces him towards the outside, and that's where you can see Tomiyasu prepared to get his body across to ensure that the French attacking player can't get on the ball. As that play develops, you can see him getting his full body across to ensure that that attacker doesn't win the 1v1, and Tomiyasu is able to regain possession, and that results in a foul that he wins. There was a time where you could see Gosens near the left touchline prepared to receive the ball, and that's where you could see Tomiyasu being prepared to shift across to close him down. When that pass is played, Gosens anticipates Tomiyasu's pressure, and he looks to take the first touch with his left foot across the defender to break forward down the left touchline. Well, it does look like Tomiyasu is caught flat-footed. When Gosens makes that touch across the left channel, Tomiyasu is able to match him stride for stride and stay in front of Gosens, and he forces the wingback to cut back to his right foot. That forces Gosens to play a squared pass into the path of Zapata, but what's integral here is Tomiyasu's movement following that pass. He anticipates the quick 1-2 with Gosens, and he instantly makes a run into left half space to ensure that he can't cut out that pass, and that results in Gosens holding his movement and Zapata reluctant to play the pass, and that ultimately halts the Atalanta attack. Similar to his role at center back, he's very proactive from that position, so when he steps forward, although he does apply pressure, he can be bypassed if an attacking player makes a run into the channel, and while that does force the center back out of position, once again he does a very good job of tracking the movement to cover for the center back being pulled into those wider areas to ensure that quick 1-2s can't be played. Here you could see Tomiyasu stepping out to Gosens, who receives the ball near the left touchline, and the Atalanta wingback looks to play the ball across Tomiyasu into the path of an attacking player in the left channel. The ball falls into the path of Zapata, but focus on Tomiyasu's movement as that play develops. Zapata does well to hold off the defender, and he locates Gozens making a forward run in beyond Tomiyasu, but Tomiyasu does a very good job of tracking that movement to ensure that a 1-2 isn't played to set the wing back free, and ultimately it's that movement and that awareness that halts the attack, as when Zapata plays a forward pass into the path of Gozens, Tomiyasu's in the right position to sweep up danger to halt the attack. Although we don't see it on a consistent basis, from an offensive perspective, if you have Tomiyasu pushing forward, he's capable of playing forward passes into the center forwards, and from that center back position, he's capable of switching play out and towards the wide fullbacks or wingbacks by playing those deep balls into those wider areas. And from deeper positions, he's capable of switching play with cross-field passes into the final third in the channels. If you look at him from a right back position, he's always willing to play overlapping runs from his wider players, and he's also looking for those inside out runs into the right channel to combine with teammates. But if you don't apply pressure when he steps into the final third, from those inside right positions, he's also capable of picking out teammates to place them in legitimate goal scoring positions. On one of the rare occasions where Tomiyasu is able to push forward, you could see that he's not being pressed by any Atalanta players, and he locates 3 Bologna players making a run into the box, but focus on Poli, who's unmarked ahead of the center backs. Tomiyasu identifies that threat, and he plays across towards the front post that's a bit deep for Poli, and that places him in this position where he's able to get to the delivery first, and he nods an effort on goal that puts Bologna up 2-0. So from an Arsenal perspective, Tomiyasu fits in perfectly. They can play a back three as many are expecting, and he could play in any one of those center back roles with Gabriel and Ben White, as they're expected to be the starting back three. But even from a right back position, if they want to play in a back four, he can play in that right back zone. And when they shift to a 3-2-5, he's capable of sitting in a deeper position to form that back three. But unlike Cedric or Callum Chambers, if Arteta needs his right back to push forward to give Arsenal more of an attacking threat down that side, Tomiyasu is capable of pushing into advanced positions and causing a threat from a deeper inside right position, or by simply making underlapping or overlapping runs to create space for the right-sided attacking Arsenal player to receive the ball to deliver crosses from a wider position, or to drag away a defender to create space for the Arsenal right-sided attacking player to cut in to present a goal threat. So as you can see, Tomiyasu's versatility is an asset, as he appears to be a reliable option that rarely gets pulled out of position and capable of providing an offensive contribution when required.